בית אליהו מאני ספרדיק בוכריין Center in Miami Beach, and welcoming everyone, and ברוכים הבאים also לרב ירון ראובן, שליטה, השם יעזרו, הדבר כבוד שמו.
אמן, אמן.
He's doing so much מזיכוי הרבים, מה זה יש קנאת סופרים תרבה חוכמה. שהשם יצליח את דרכיו ויגדיל תורה ולאדירה. We're really happy to have him in our Beilot. And anybody wants to serve yourself coffee, tea in the kitchen, you have some refreshment here, you are welcome to have it. And of course, you know, we are just before Purim. This Purim is beside it, it's a happy day. משנכנס אדר מרבים בשמחה. It's a lot of mitzvot of Purim, but as part of it is chizukim. The Purim also like Yom Shel Chizuk. We really need chizukim before that, and on behalf of Bet Knesset, our Kehilot, Bet Eliyahu Mani, we thank the Rabbi that you give this opportunity for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. It's a pleasure to be here again. We're here a couple of times before, Baruch Hashem. Each time, Baruch Hashem, the Shurim had some good feedback. Good to see some new faces. As the Kvod Rav said, it's Purim is coming up, and I've been working on an article for the last week or so, and between all the Shurim and everything else, it's not so easy to find time to write, but you try, because when something is important, you have to try to do it. Now, anyone that wants to see any of our shiurim or any of the articles we write, or for example, today, Baruch Hashem, with Siyat Dishmaya, Rav Ephraim actually published his third part of this book. There's a Sheilot v'Tshuvot, Ech Tov L'Yisrael. So we announced the third one was just published today. It's in Israel, and B'ezrat Hashem will be shipped to the U.S. for anyone that wants to study it. It's different Sheilot v'Tshuvot. We have CDs that we're working on. We have probably about 10 different books we're working on. Baruch Hashem, a lot of Torah is coming out to Am Yisrael. The question is, what's so different? Ma ishtana? Even though it's the question we ask for Pesach, we have to also ask the same question for Purim. We have to ask the same question for Shabbat. We have to ask the same question every day. Ma ishtana layla? What's the difference between today and yesterday? Am I the same guy that I was yesterday, or am I different? Someone asked me the other day, he said, listen, what do you do if your wife is not a big fan of you going to Shurei Torah? She wants you to stay home with her, hang out with the kids, take her to dinner, go to the mall maybe, you know, all types of olam hazeh, all types of this world type of stuff. What happens? I want to go learn, he says, but she doesn't want me to go learn. What do? I say, she's right. So automatically he's looking at me like I'm Amalek. I said, no, don't worry. I'm not telling him, not Amalek, but she's right. Why is she right? Because you went to Shurei Torah. Before you went to Shurei Torah, you were Esav. You didn't know anything. You came back from Shurei Torah, you're still Esav. Nothing changed. She's not seeing any totzaot. She's not seeing any changes in you. All she's saying is you're telling her what to do. Keep this, keep this, keep this, with no explanation. You're still cheap. You're still arrogant. You're still angry every 2 seconds. Your midot, your character traits have not changed. She's not seeing any results. Of course she's not going to want you to go away. But if you go to the Shiur Torah, Esav, and you come back, Yaakov, you work on your midot, you work on your character traits, all of a sudden, you ask her how she's doing because you care, not because it's just something to say. All of a sudden, you buy her a present even though it's not an anniversary for the 50th year. All of a sudden, you're less angry even though you have all the reasons to be. You're changing. You're becoming a better human being. Then she's saying, oh, Torah is working. Go to Shiur Torah, stay there, come back next week. Why? There's totzaot, there's results. So each and every single one of us have to ask ourselves, what's our totzaot for ourselves, our own test, not just in our marriage, not just in school, not just in learning that we do or we don't do. Every single person knows that if they run a business, they look at their results. If you want the business to survive, you have to look at results once in a while. If you want a business not to survive, don't look. Find out when the banks are calling and telling you haven't paid the mortgage in a few months and they're shutting down the business, then you'll find out what the results are from them. But if you look at the results every few months, you do a quarterly review, you do an annual review, you find out what's going on, where do I stand, you have a chance of survival. Why a chance of survival? Because now, if there's something wrong, if there's a cancer, and it happens to be one of the employees, or it happens to be one of the workers, or it happens to be one of the partners, if you didn't let it go on for too long, you can fix it. You can remove the bad cancer. But if you just let it go for a long time, it becomes part of the business. That's why many businesses that have bad customer service, it's not something that just started last week. It's something that's been ignored for years. And now to change it, you have to fire everyone. Sometimes, when a person reviews himself and compares what he is versus what Hashem said he's supposed to be, he realizes that he has to fire everybody. He has to fire the Yetzer Hara, he has to fire the Yetzer Tov, he has to fire the Rabbi, he has to fire the Chavruta, he has to fire everyone. Why? He's been learning for 20 years, he's still Esav, nothing changed. If you're not changing, something's wrong. So, when you ask people, do you know the 13 principles of faith? When we bring people, for example, to convert. Many tzaddikim, Baruch Hashem, are fulfilling the prophecy that Hashem Yitbarach said at the end of times in Sefer Amos. He told the prophet something extraordinary. That if you didn't read it, you're missing out. If you did read it, you probably missed it anyway, because it couldn't be more obvious. It says, "Inei yamim ba'im neum Adonai Elohim ve'ishlachti ra'av ba'aretz lo ra'av lalechem ve'lo tzameh lamayim ki im lishmoa et divrei Adonai." Behold, days are coming, meaning he's talking about the Yemei Mashiach, where the word of the Lord Hashem will be there will be a hunger for the word of Hashem. Not a hunger for bread or a thirst for water, but a hunger to hear the words of Hashem. So, the Mefarshim put different types of commentaries on this. What do you mean? What kind of hunger people want to hear Divrei Torah? What, they have nothing else to do? Don't they have a business to run? Don't they have a building to build? Don't have a marriage to take care of? That's it. That's the whole prophecy. We waited all this time just for people to come to Divrei Torah. The Navi Amos is telling us something quite different. He's telling us that before the Mashiach comes, there's going to be an unusual division between the righteous and the wicked. As the Gemara says, our oral Torah says, the Mashiach cannot come. En ben David ba, the descendant of David, the Mashiach, cannot come unless it's a generation of righteous or wicked. So the Chachamim say, for everyone to be righteous, it's not happening. Why? There's always going to be a Mechalel Shabbat here and there. There's always going to be a woman walking around with a mini skirt. There's always going to be somebody that says you should go to Christianity or some Buddha or something else. There's always going to be some Rasha somewhere. There's always going to be somebody. Sometimes the Rasha has a kippah and a beard too. There's not. That doesn't mean just because he doesn't have a kippah he's a tzaddik or he's a Rasha. They have all shapes and sizes. All shapes and sizes. So to have a whole generation of tzaddikim, Chachamim are saying it's not possible. But to have a generation of Kulam Reshaim, everyone's wicked, also not possible. Why? Hashem will destroy the world. If there's not at least 36 tzaddikim in the world, Hashem will destroy the world. So what is the Gemara really saying? What is this prophecy about the end of time saying? The Chachamim explain that before the Mashiach comes, every one of us is going to have to make a choice. But not a choice of whether you want to go to Beit Knesset or not to be a mashlim for the minyan. It's good. Not to decide whether you're going to go to the Shiur Torah on time or a half hour late. It's good if you come on time. Not if you even go to the Shiur Torah or not. Not even if you put on tefillin in the morning or in the afternoon, or if you decide to overcharge the guy, even though, he's not going to notice and he's a millionaire anyway. A lot of people think it's okay to steal from rich people. Well, Robin Hoods. They said it there was a cartoon. They said, oh, if you're Robin Hood, you're stealing from the rich, giving it to the poor. It's mitzvah. For some reason, the rich people steal from other rich people. So even their own story, they don't follow. But the reality is, it's not that choice. It's not that choice. Chachamim are saying, before the Mashiach comes, everyone is going to have to make a choice of, are you going to do 100% tshuva and try to become Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva, Tosfot Yom Tov, Rav Ovadia, the Rambam. You're going to try to become your version of the biggest tzaddik you know, or you're going to decide, I'm going to be Haman. Ze keneged ze bara Elokim. Either this or this. Either you're going to be Sarah Imenu, or Izevel. You have to choose. No more 50%. No more, I'm going to come sometimes. I'm going to come to the Knesset sometimes. I'm going to keep Shabbat sometimes. I'm going to be very religious in America, but not when I go on vacation. A lot of people are religious at home, but vacation they're not religious. Or they wear mitpachat, they wear the kosher mitpachat to cover their hair throughout the whole year, except if it's a wedding. Or if it's if it's an event. If everyone's going to see me, I'm going to wear a wig that's, 6 feet long. I'm modest at home. I have one guy who tells me, listen, I wear tzitzit all the time. I said, when? I never see you with tzitzit. You come to Shura Torah every week, I never see you with tzitzit. He goes, no, when I'm at home, I wear tzitzit all the time. I said, yeah, it's very easy to be religious at home. The key is to be religious outside too. Hashem is outside too. So Chachamim says that all of us are going to have to make a choice. A very difficult choice. And there's going to be an enormous hunger for the truth. Part of that hunger is going to come from converts. People that are going to realize that they've been full of shtiyot their whole life. They've been told all types of lies. Whether it's some idiot that died 2,000 years ago and he's Mashiach, or he's God, or some other creation that they have. Or some fat guy from China, for some reason he's a god too. Or the cow in India, that anytime she crosses the street, everybody bows to her. All types of things that people create. There's over 80,000 different types of sects and religions in the world. When you say, Baruch Sheloh Asani Goy every morning, blessed Hashem, He didn't make me a Goy, what's the kavanah supposed to be? Rav Kotler, alav Shalom, his whole life was Torah. Morning, afternoon, night, middle of the night. Only Torah. One day he goes to one of the Talmidim, he says, who won the election? There was an election in this country, in America, right? Who won the election? Who won the election? Talmidim, they follow a little bit of news here and there. They said, oh, so-and-so won the election. Oh, okay, good. And he went, did prayer, finished Shachrit. After Shachrit, the Talmidim came to Rav Kotler, first time a student for 20 years, never heard the Rav, ever interested in anything related to this world. All of a sudden, he cares about who's the president. Why do you care about who's the president? So he goes to the Rav, Lamdeni, teach us. Yeah, everything you do, you have to learn from Chachamim, not just from the books they write, but also from their actions. For the Rav, why, before you even started praying, you asked who won the election? Since when does the Rav actually care about who wins the election? He goes, no, it was very important to me. Why? I was going to do Shachrit, I was going to do the Tfilat, Bakot HaShachar, and I have to pray, Baruch Hashem, Shelo Asani Goy, that He didn't make me a Goy. I have to have Kavanah. Who am I going to have Kavanah? On the President of the United States. Dafka him, thank God He didn't make me him. Meaning the best one of them. The best one. The President is the best one. Whoever the President is, he's the elite. Even though he has a lot of haters, even though he has people that want to assassinate him, even though all these different things, in reality, in the view of the normal people, they view the president, he is the most successful guy in the world. He says, so dafka him, I bless Hashem for not making me. That's the difference between someone who understands the value of being a Jew and someone who doesn't. Someone who doesn't, what does he think about when he says, Shalom Asani Goy? Thank you, God, that you didn't make me a Goy. Who does he think about? He thinks about some homeless guy that's on crack, that's collecting dollars for 30 years already, and happens to be not Jewish, he's thinking, oh, thank God you didn't make me the crack guy. Thank God you didn't make me the prostitute. Thank God you didn't make me the guy that's in jail now. You don't have to thank God for that. That's not, what's that? That's the blessing. You think that Chazal, actually, it's still a blessing. Shelo asani goy for that. Even if he was Jewish, you would say, thank you, you didn't make me that. It has nothing to do with him being non-Jewish. Shelo asani goy means even the best of them is still not as good as the least of us. But how can it be? Or what, is the Torah so racist? Are we such a racist nation? I mean, we suffered racism since the beginning of time. No, Rabotai. It's not racism. It's that when someone understands what it means to be a Jew, it means that he knows the responsibility that comes with it. And if he fulfills that responsibility, like Rav Kotler Alav Shalom did, he understands, okay, I have a responsibility, I'm fulfilling it. That means that in the eyes of Hashem, I'm a prince. In the eyes of Hashem, I'm considered Ohavai, his lover. If I'm not, then we learn in Parashat Yitro, we learned a couple of weeks ago, what does he call the people who don't keep mitzvot? Sonai. What's Sonai? My haters. Hashem says, you keep mitzvot, you Ohavai, you love me. You don't keep a mitzvot, you hate me. So at the end of days, every single person is going to have to decide, do I want to be his lover, do I want to be his hater? Now, why do the Chachamim say you have to make a choice? Why can't it be like most of us that are 50% there? Half olam hazeh, half olam haba. We keep Shabbat, but during the rest of the week, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Why does it have to be extreme? Why are you so Haridi? Why are you so machmir? It's not machmir. Because the amount of tests that are going to happen before the Mashiach comes are going to become so extraordinary and so difficult that unless you're glued to Hashem, you're not going to make it. The Rambam says that before the Mashiach comes, the miracles that we saw in Egypt are going to be repeated. But this time they're going to be magnified. In Egypt, we had 3 days of darkness. 3 days of darkness, Makat HaChoshech, where Hashem killed all of the firstborns of the Egyptians and over 80% of Am Yisrael. Over 80% of Am Yisrael were killed during Makat HaChoshech. It wasn't just the Egyptians. Why did he kill Am Yisrael? Because they didn't want to do tshuva. He says, you don't want to do tshuva, you don't want to go to Mount Sinai, I don't need you. No problem. You don't want to fulfill the Torah, you have no purpose. The Rambam says that over those 3 days, he did it during darkness, so not to show the goyim that we're getting punished too, so they don't think that it's an even playing field. But nonetheless, the Rambam says that before Mashiach comes, it's going to be 15 days of darkness. 15 days, not 3 days, 15 days. And if you look at the prophecies by Zechariah, by Ezekiel, of what are the things that are going to happen at the end of days, it's very scary. One of the things that the Gemara tells us at the end of Masechet Sotah, page 49, is that there's going to be unusual things, unusual tests. Inflation is going to be extraordinary, very similar to what's happening in Venezuela, where just a few years ago they were one of the richest countries in the world. Today, people are selling their hair in order to get food. They're selling their hair to get $10 so they can eat for the day. A few years ago, they were rich. Today, people don't have food to eat. 30,000 people break through the borders to go to the neighboring countries just for survival, not because it's a better economy, just to survive. Inflation like this, according to Chazal, is going to happen everywhere. Pnei ador kepnei kelev. The face of the generation will be like the face of dogs. What does it mean? We're going to turn into dogs? No. It means we're going to have the same midot like dogs. A dog doesn't care about where he does his thing. He doesn't look around where he's going to the bathroom. Doesn't care where he mates. No busha. Unfortunately, at the end of days, before Mashiach comes, people are going to be like that too. Amevin yavin. People feel like comfortable to do whatever they want to do in the middle of the street today. The leaders will do things that are against their own nation. People that we put in power, you elect them, you put them in power, and they're going to make decisions that are the opposite. Two very simple examples. You look at, for example, the government of Israel, God bless them, but they have 30% of the government members are terrorists. Verified terrorists. Not like it's a conspiracy. They support terrorism. Arab terrorists, but they're part of the government. If somebody told you, listen, Osama bin Laden is going to run for mayor of Arkansas, are you going to vote for him? You're going to say, yeah, we're going to vote for him to get the death penalty. Again, if he didn't die the first time. Nobody would ever think to put a terrorist or someone that supports terrorism in government. But in Eretz HaKodesh, the secular government is doing it. Here in America, there's been already 8 shootings. 8 shootings in schools since the beginning of the secular year, meaning in less than 2 months. People think that the shooting happened a few days ago. Oh, wow, chas v'shalom, it's the first. No, it's not the first one, guys. Something happened 2 weeks ago, too. And something happened 3 weeks ago, too. 8 shootings, meaning we're at a pace right now to have more than once per week. Meaning that someone sends their kids to school, 50-50, they're not going to make it. Forget if they're going to be Talmid Chacham, they're going to be an algebra, they're going to get good grades. 50-50, they may not make it. This is where we're at. Solve them the problem, you have 450,000 unemployed veterans, people that know how to use guns. Put each one of them in a school that makes 4.5 soldiers per school. You don't want to give money to all of them, put 1 per school. By just simply doing that, you removed 50,000, almost 50,000 homeless soldiers. So you've removed homeless people from the streets. And you've provided more taxes to the government. And also you're providing more living for people. But they're never going to do it. Why? This all has nothing to do with people. This all has nothing to do with governments. And anyone that tries to think, no, if I vote for this guy, it's going to change. If I pay this much taxes, it's going to change. If we stop selling weapons, it's going to change. If we're going to do all these different things, it's going to change. Nothing's going to change. In fact, it's just going to get worse. Why? This is all Yad Hashem. This all starts and ends with Yad Hashem, the hand of Hashem, the hand of God. Hashem is moving the pieces. We have to decide what role we're going to play. Doesn't matter who's in government. We already have 3 different proofs in our Torah. As soon as somebody goes into government, Hashem takes away their free choice. Whether it's Paro, or it's Nebuchadnezzar, or it's Sichon. There's 3 different proofs of Goy leaders that went into government. And Hashem said, okay, you don't have free choice anymore. Why? You're my little puppet. I'm going to decide whether to use you to help Am Yisrael build a Beit HaMikdash or destroy it. How does this connect to Purim? And then how does this connect to PARNASA TOVA? You guys came in for PARNASA TOVA. How does it connect? The article that I've been trying to write has been really about what's really the root of the cause of the whole disaster or a near disaster that happened in Purim. Now you can say anti-Semitism, but that was already created in Parashat Shmot, over 1,000 years before the story of Purim. So Dafka, it went crazy then. Anti-Semitism has always been around. Mordechai didn't like Haman. Haman didn't like Mordechai. A lot of people don't like each other. It doesn't make it necessarily a World War III. What's the root cause of everything? And why is the root cause so critical, so important, that we are obligated to stop learning Torah, according to the Gemara Masechet Megillah, and go read the Megillah? Now, someone who doesn't know what this means, let me just emphasize. Hashem Yitbarach told the prophet Jeremiah, Im lo briti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti. Meaning, if not for someone learning Torah somewhere in the world, 24 hours a day, someone has to be learning somewhere. Chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti. The rules of the world will cease to exist. What rules of the world? Gravity, oxygen, hydrogen, atmosphere, everything. Not what happened to Noach. What happened to Noach still was technically within nature. Hashem says if there's not somebody out there in the world learning Torah, the world will just simply cease to exist. There's no purpose for the world. So to say that someone is learning Torah, it's a big deal. To have a mitzvah to tell all of Am Yisrael, stop learning Torah. That means it's something important. Stop learning Torah? What do you mean? You're putting the whole world at risk right now. This is a mitzvah that puts the entire planet at risk. You're saying you have to learn Torah. But now you're saying stop learning Torah, go hear the Megillah. How could it be? Rabotai Karim, the lessons that we are obligated to learn in the Megillah is not just about costumes. It's not just about giving some money to poor people. It's not just about eating a meal bigger than Shabbat. It's not just about getting drunk. It's not just about the story about a couple of guys that got into a fight. They disagreed. It's not about the story, but rather it's about what's relevant to us. Haman died. He's not here anymore, Baruch Hashem. He's reborn every generation. Another version of him was Hitler 7 years ago. And there's many other versions of him that are coming. That's just a reality. They're all going to try, and it's only Yad Hashem that's going to decide whether it's going to go into full power or not. There's a Haman in every generation. Just like there's a Mashiach in every generation. But the question is, why do I have to hear the story 1,000 times already? I heard it last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before. Ask for the Rav how many times you read Megillat Esther. To learn it, to teach it, to read it. How many times are you going to learn the same thing? The story doesn't change, the same story. Haman is a Rasha, Mordechai Yehudi is a Tzaddik, Esther saves the day, Baruch Hashem. Again, Oznei Haman, cookies, costumes, again. More costumes, more cookies, we'll keep adding weight, and we still don't know anything. What's the purpose of the story? I keep going this way, but not this way. What's happening? Why? Why do I need to know the story again? How many times can you hear the same story? It's not changing. Haman's a Rasha, but he died. Him, Baruch Hashem, and his 10 sons all died. Got hung up on a 50-foot tree. There's a midrash in Me'am Lo'el says that the actual tree, 50-foot tree, they didn't have in Shushan. Where they get it from? Tevat Noach. Tevat Noach, they found it in Mount Ararat. They took one of the trees over there. They made the tree to hang Haman and his sons. Nice midrash, but still, does it change the story? No, it doesn't change the story. It's nice time. It's nice taste for the story. But it's still the same story next year. You're going to remember what I just said. You're going to say, oh, you know what tree they use. Okay, great. Is it going to change anything? Rabotai, the Gemara in Masechet Chulin, page 139b, says that when Hashem says, Aster astir et panai, I will hide my face, the sages are using in the Gemara as a source of how Hashem is hiding his face at the time of Esther, at the time of the Sipur for Purim. And Rashi comments there, he says, Yad Hashem, the hand of Hashem was there the whole time. All these coincidences were there the whole time. It's not a coincidence. Yad Hashem, he's just hiding his face. It's not open miracles like we had in Egypt. Hashem made a pillar of fire, a pillar of smoke, opened the sky, opened the seventh heavens, showed Am Yisrael, hey, there's nobody else here but me. You don't have to worry about idols. You don't have to worry about any other gods. It's just me here alone. Showed him the words in the sky, all types of amazing things. In Purim, nothing like that. It all seemed like coincidences. But just like there was coincidences that actually were controlled by Hashem, and And Rashi says that Hashem's message, you only know at the end of the story. The message to us, Rabotai Yekarim, the message to us, the reason why we have to learn the story every year, the reason why we have to stop learning Torah and put the whole world at risk to go learn this story, is because the message is what's going to save us at the times of Mashiach. What's the message? In the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, the Chachamim tell us a big secret of what happens when a neshama leaves the body and goes to Shemaim. It says it goes to Shemaim, to the Beit Din of Shemaim, and they start asking him questions. What's the first question they ask? What do they ask? Did you conduct your business with emunah? What does it mean, did you conduct your business with emunah? Did you believe that customers are going to come in? You can believe from here to the next week, if customers are not coming in, you're shutting down the store and you start a new business. What does it mean you conduct your business with emunah? Conduct business with emunah means, did you conduct your money affairs with Hashem in mind? When the customer came in and you had an opportunity to overcharge him, did you do it? Goy, Jew, doesn't make a difference. People try to rationalize that it's okay to cheat the non-Jews. Chas v'shalom, don't cheat the Jews. Jews only the non-Jews, it's okay. And they'll start telling you halachot that they made up in their head of how they're allowed to cheat non-Jews. By the way, it's a bigger sin to cheat a non-Jew. Just in case you don't know, it's a bigger sin to cheat a non-Jew than a Jew. The reason why, a Jew obviously is stealing from him. From a non-Jew, it's chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem is one of the 3 worst possible sins in the entire Torah. Who doesn't know about it? Who doesn't know? Eventually he does. When you get to Shemaim, they're going to ask you, how come you cheated Stephen, the Indian guy, that changed his name from Mustafa? How come? Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's bring Stephen. And they're going to bring Stephen, and Stephen will say, how come you cheated me? How come you cheated me? Sometimes it's over there, we realize. Sometimes it's over here, we realize. People think that they could do what they want and get away with it. As long as they get away with it, it's mitzvah. Or perhaps it's not averah. But the reality is that the same sages tell us no one could ever enter Gan Eden with blood on their hands. What does it mean, blood on their hands? Why? They kept Shabbat, they kept kosher, they put on tefillin, they came to Shiur Torah. What's the problem? You're stealing your business, that's blood on your hands. Cannot enter Gan Eden. It says do not enter. Now, what happens to such a person? Like Kvodo says, they have to come back in a Gilgul and pay back the money. There's a story from the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov had Ruach HaKodesh. We talk about Ruach HaKodesh. He actually had it. And Baal Shem Tov wanted to buy a horse one time, and he came to one of his students and he said, I want to buy a horse. Oh, Kvod Harav, I have 500 of them. Pick whatever one you want. And he points at one of the horses. He goes, oh, that one, the black one, over there. The guy starts crying, no, Kvod Harav, any horse, just not that one. I'll get other horses if you don't like the other 499. Any horse, just not that horse. Kvod Harav, please. I want to give you my rabbi. I love you. I'm going to do everything I can. But please not that horse. Not like today where like the rabbi says, can you do me a favor, come to Minyan on time? Hey, Kvod Harav, stop mouthing off to me. No, over there. In those days, 400 years ago, Kvod Harav says, I want a horse. They start crying. They can't give it to him. So the Baal Shem Tov says to him, no, I want that horse. I want that horse. He says, Kvod Harav, if that's what you want, that's what you want. What can I do? He goes, you sure you're going to sell it to me? He says, for you, Kvod Harav, no problem. Take the horse. I just want to let you know, Kvod Harav, this horse is the best horse I have. All the other horses, I have to give them a bunch of food and convince them to do work. This horse wakes me up in the morning. This horse wakes me up in the morning just to go do work. It's the best horse, but for you, Kvod Harav, I'll give you the horse. No problem. He said, sold? Sold, Kvod Harav, no problem. He goes, let me ask you a question. The Baal Shem Tov asks his student. Let me ask you something. Did you have a friend or somebody that you know that died recently? That maybe owed you some money? Oh, yeah, my neighbor. He lives 30 minutes away. Nice guy, misken. He got hit by something. The guy died. He goes, he owed you some money? He goes, yeah, he just put out $150 for the Rav. Nothing. He didn't owe me much. $150. Not his fault. He died, misken. Wait, it's his fault he died. He didn't plan on dying. He goes, but are you upset that he owed you the money? He goes, no, for the Rav, misken, the guy died. I went to his funeral and everything. I was not upset. He goes, no, but Be'emet, in your heart, do you forgive him that he died without paying you back the money? He goes, of course I forgive him. What kind of question? What am I, Rasha? Of course, Kvod Harav, he's my friend. My friend 20 years. We're friends, $150 between us, nothing. He goes, so say it. Say, machulecha, machulecha, machulecha. I forgive him. He says, okay. Machulecha, machulecha, machulecha. He says 3 times. The horse drops dead. The horse drops dead. The guy gets scared. He says, what just happened? He says, that was your friend. I knew that your friend's neshama was inside that horse. He had to come back in a Gilgul because he died without paying you back the $150. He didn't take it on purpose like a thief. He died. But he still owed the money. In Shamayim, the Omek Adin, the depth of the judgment is much more than you can imagine. He showed up to Gan Eden. They said, sorry, sir, do not enter. Why? You owe $150. You have to come back and pay back your friend. How am I going to pay him back if I come back as a baby? Until I grow up, he's already going to die. No, go work for him. How am I going to work for him? Go be a horse. And he had to come back as a horse to work for you until he paid you back the $150, or you forgave him. Whichever comes first. Someone who doesn't want to believe these stories, it's their problem. That's a different shiur. The reality is, Rabotai Karim, that in Shamayim, the first question is about money. First question is about money. It's not about, did you go to Beit Knesset? It's not about, did you wear a talit with the nusa, with the way of the Ashkenazim that have the black stripes, or the Sfaradim that's completely white? Did you say a certain accent this way, a certain accent that way? Did you go to Nets? Did you go to 8 o'clock minyan? They don't ask you those questions right away. What do they ask you? They ask you, did you conduct your business with emunah? Why did you conduct business with emunah? Because in the Beit Knesset, it's very easy to look at tzaddik. Especially in the morning, everyone has talit and tefillin on. Baal Shem Tov, Ben Ish Chai, Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva. Everybody's next to each other. Everyone looks like a tzaddik. So no one knows this guy's a thief, this guy's a rapist, this guy is this one. No one knows anything. Everybody looks like tzaddikim. It looks like Mount Sinai. Looks like Mount Sinai. Everybody's tzaddikim, k'doshim. No one knows that the other guy that's praying, what is he praying? He's praying for his partner to die so he can take all the money. But no one knows. So in Shamayim, they said, we're not going to ask you if you went to Beit Knesset. Why? It's all a show. It's all a show. But when is it not a show? When it comes to your money. Why? It's no show. What you do with your money is what you do with the rest of your neshama. If you're honest with your money, you're honest with the rest of your neshama. If you're dishonest with money, you're dishonest with the rest of your neshama. If you're making excuses to cheat and lie and be cheap and stingy and all those other bad character traits with money, the rest will apply to everything else in your life. There's no show. All of those people that look like they're Baalei Chesed, like this guy that made a big Chilul Hashem 10 years ago, this Bernie Madoff. Oh, why? He gave so much tzedakah. What tzedakah? He was stealing from this guy to give tzedakah to that guy. Better off don't give tzedakah. According to our Torah, it's not tzedakah. Why? He stole the money. You can't make a mitzvah to a way of a sin. It's a chilul Hashem. Huh? Right. You cannot make a sin in order to make a mitzvah. You have to take off the costume. It's not Purim every day. When it comes to your business, Purim does not apply. You're as real as it gets. Now, most people, Baruch Hashem, especially in America, make a decent living. The average income in America is over $50,000. Meaning that somebody that's making average is still better off than some rich people from previous generations. Baruch Hashem, if you tell somebody, oh, you're making 50,000, it's good income. You tell, well, chas v'shalom, 50,000. How am I going to survive? Just yeshiva is 25,000. How am I going to do 50,000? I have to make a lot more. It's like tell him you make average is like a curse on him. So you tell him, okay, so what will you make? You have to make 150, 250, 300, how much you have to make? And the income in different neighborhoods has to keep going higher. And Baruch Hashem, some people make more. Some people make average. Some people make much more than average. Some people, Baruch Hashem, are the rich people. They make 7 figures. But just for you, so you know, statistically, if you make over $302,000, you are making more than 99.9% of the world. Meaning there's 8 billion people in the world, you're making more than 99% of them, just with 300,000, which means that if you're making more, obviously, it's even more. Billionaires and things of that nature, it doesn't necessarily, that's not the 1%. The 1% is anyone that has what's considered high income, which is 300,000 or more. But needless to say, most people will always tell you that they're not making enough. Most people will tell you they're not making enough. You ask the guy, how much do you make? Oh, I make, I don't know, only 10,000 a month, only 20,000 a month, only 120,000, only 250,000, only 300,000, only a million. Last year was a tough year, only 5 million. The year before that was much better, was 7. Be'ezrat Hashem will give me PARNASA TOVA. A guy comes to Rabbi Nissim again, alav shalom, and gives him a check in the morning. He says, Kvod Harav, to support your Kiruv organization, here you go, I believe in what you do. Please, Kvod Harav, give me PARNASA TOVA. Give me something, give me a blessing. So, Rabbi Nissim again knew this guy's worth $100 million. He says, listen, ask me for one blessing, the most important thing that you want. Anything you want, and I'll pray all year for it. One thing. The guy's worth $100 million, Rabotai. So what are you going to think? Yeah, refuah shlema, for my kids to get married, for my wife to be nice to me, for me to become a Talmid Chacham, I don't know, to live till 1 million, I don't know, something. What? For the Rav, please, for Hashem to give me PARNASA TOVA this year. For the Rav, please, for Hashem to give me PARNASA TOVA, like he's homeless. For Hashem to give me PARNASA TOVA. That's it. That's all I want. Everything else I have, Baruch Hashem, everything I have, is PARNASA TOVA I need. Just that's all I need. That's all I need. PARNASA TOVA. $100 million he has in the bank. PARNASA TOVA. Why? The Gemara, Rabotai Yekarim, is not just some book that a bunch of people wrote because they have some intellect. The Gemara is mamash from Ruach HaKodesh. It comes from Hashem Yitbarach. It's from Mount Sinai. It's not just some things. The Gemara says there's no such person that will ever have enough. Why? You give him 100, he wants 200. You give him 200, he wants 400. You give him 400, he wants 800. And the Gemara Masechet Sukkah says, no person ever died with even half of what he wanted. Because he always wanted more. This, we already saw so far, is a problem. How is it connected to Purim? That's how Purim started. Before the disaster, the Gemara tells us that Achashverosh was actually even more anti-Semitic than Haman. He hated Am Yisrael just as much, if not more. But he wasn't as passionate about it. But he wanted to make sure that He kills us from the inside, not from the outside. Not like Haman. Haman wanted to kill everything. Achashverosh was very similar to the Greeks, who wanted to kill off our religion. So what did he do? He had a party celebrating that they did not build the Bet HaMikdash. According to his calculation, the Bet HaMikdash was supposed to be built. According to the prophecy from the book of Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah said there was going to be 7-year difference between the first Bet HaMikdash and the second Bet HaMikdash. And he calculated the 7 years passed, and it wasn't built. That means that Hashem gave up on Am Yisrael. Chas v'shalom. So he said, let's celebrate. How are we going to celebrate? I'm going to invite all the Jews. I'm going to invite all the Jews to the White House, and I'm going to have them celebrate with me while I wear what I wear. I wear Jewish clothing. I wear the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. And I bring all the tools from the Bet HaMikdash that they are going to say, no, don't worry about it. He's the king. He's allowed. They're going to start making halachot for me. What am I going to do? I'm going to make them feel good about themselves. Oh, we want kosher wine? We'll make you kosher wine. You want kosher Chinese food? I'll give you kosher Chinese food. Whatever you want, I'll give you. Just start changing the Torah. Make it like a Goyish version of Torah. Make it like the New Testament type of Torah. You know, people say, no, it's the same thing, no? Chas v'shalom, same thing. But unfortunately, kvotchem, the reality is that we went. We went to the party. We went to the party, we drank the wine. We didn't listen to the Kiruv rabbi named Mordechai screaming at the gate, don't go, don't go. I know it's the White House, but we don't belong there. We're Jews. We don't belong in the White House. We don't belong writing stories for politics. We don't belong there. We just got to survive, learn our Torah, and wait for Olam Haba, wait for Mashiach. That's all we are here for. We're not here to be politicians. We're not here to be journalists. We're not here to be anything. We're here to just make our kids Jewish. Be Jewish. That's all we're here for. No one wanted to listen. Why? They wanted to cancel out the blessing we say in the morning, Shelo asani goy. We wanted to be a goy. Why? The goy is in charge. He's in leadership. Let's be like him. Look, he's even celebrating our holidays now. Look, he has the Kohen Gadol's uniform. Looks nice on him, no? He has kosher wine. Wow. He cares about us. He gave us kosher wine. Look, he even has kosher Chinese food. He has kosher this food, Bukharian food, Ashkenazi food, this food, gefilte fish, all types of food. Look, we're at the White House. What's the problem, Mordechai? Why are you such a machmir? Why are you such a machmir? We went. Hashem says you went. Strike one. But in Hashem's eyes, it's not baseball. There's no 3 strikes. It's one. One small act changes everything. One small act was the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu entering Eretz Yisrael or not. The Rambam says that if Moshe Rabbeinu would have entered Eretz Yisrael, he would have been the Mashiach, they would have built the Bet HaMikdash, and there would have been 4,000 years of Yemei Mashiach, no sins, no Yetzer Hara, no Choban Bet HaMikdash, nothing. Everything good. Already Gan Eden in this world until we go to the next world. But he made a small, tiny mistake that to us is not even a mistake. What did he do? He hit the Selah. He hit the stone, said, oh, listen, bring some water out. First time Hashem asked him to do it, he told him, hit the Selah. So he hit it. Second time, he didn't tell him to hit it. So Moshe figured, Kal vachomer, I did it in the past, it worked last time, I'll do it again, it's going to work this time. Big deal, what's the problem? Hashem says it's a big sin, it's a big act, it's a big deal. Why? It's just a little bit of less Kiddush Hashem. A little bit of less. Just one tiny small act. Tiny small act changed everything. What everything? If you wouldn't have hit it, you would have went to Eretz Yisrael, you're Mashiach, Bet HaMikdash, everything is good. One small mistake, we have to go to Gehenom in this world for the last few thousand years. A few people go have some kosher wine, they go to the White House, they go to Chashverosh, they hang out with the guys. Big deal. Why did Achashverosh want to do it? He wanted to show off his money. But what do we say? Whoever has money and loves money never has enough money. So Hashem made the next hand play. What did the next hand play? Someone else had more money than him. Only one other person in the world had more money than him. His name was Haman. Haman had more money than Achashverosh. As a matter of fact, the Midrash tells us that aside from Korach, no one had as much money in the history of mankind like Haman. Haman comes to Achashverosh and he says, hey Achashverosh, listen, there's a bunch of people. They're strange. They're not like us. They act like us, but they're really not like us. Let me kill them. And just in case, so you don't even think about it, let me give you a little small down payment. How much? 10,000 kikare. Kesef. What's 10,000 kikare? It sounds like $10,000. The guy has $100 million in the bank. What does he care about $10,000? Rabotai, I did the cheshbon. I did the math. How much did Haman give him as a down payment? In today's worth, if you figure out the cost of silver being today $16.60 an ounce, exactly $334 million. Down payment. Let me kill the Jews. $334 million. Let me kill the Jews. What do you think he's going to say? No, he hates the Jews already. And he loves money. Why did this happen? Jews went for a couple of drinks. It could have always happened. It could have happened before. It could have happened after. It could have happened a million other times. It never happened. Until the Jews decided they want to be like the Goyim. You want to be like the Goyim? You don't want to sanctify yourself? If you don't want to sanctify yourself, I'll send the Goy as a weapon to separate you, to remind you that you're not like them. And what will I use? I will use the same thing that you thought was good. So, the story of Purim technically only happened because of the lust for money. Achashverosh loved it, Haman had it, and we made enough mistakes to deserve it. Now, most people, when you tell them, what do you want? They said, listen, I want to have PARNASA TOVA. But you already make enough money, so how come you want more? The reason why, which is the main purpose of what we said we're going to talk about, is because most people may make a lot of money. They may make 100 or 200 or 300 or whatever money that they make. But they don't have bracha. They don't have blessing in the money. Whatever they make, it's irrelevant. For whatever reason or another, the money itself doesn't survive. They can make 100 or they can make 1,000,000. The money doesn't survive. It's always going somewhere they don't want to go to. They made 10,000 last month, all of it went to medical bills. They went 20,000, it went to medical bills and taxes. They made 30,000, it went to medical bills, taxes, and some other problems in the house. No matter how much money they make, it's always going somewhere. There's never anything left. They're always fighting to close out the month. They always have to borrow money for another few days. They always have to take an extra loan, an extra line of credit. They, take a little bit of an advance from a customer, a little bit of advance from a boss. They're always chasing their own wheels. They're always chasing their own tails, constantly. It's never enough. Well, you made more money, though. You look at the numbers. You look at the actual company. Last year you made 100,000. This year you made 500,000. Next year you're going to make 1,000,000. What's the problem? How come you're struggling more now when you're making 1,000,000 than when you did when you just first started working delivering newspapers? What's the problem? Now there's a few things that I know. Torah I'm trying, but there's a few things for sure I know. How do I know? Baruch Hashem, Baal Nisayon. One or two things that I know. One, I know a little bit about suffering. Anyone that doesn't know, the CD, the black one, first track tells my personal story. Once you hear that lecture, you'll understand what suffering really is. So I have a little bit of experience with suffering. The other thing that I know a little bit about is not having blessing in the money. Now, I don't know what everybody makes. I don't know what everybody doesn't make. It doesn't really make a difference. But I know that 99% of people do not have a blessing in their money, the same thing like I did. It didn't matter whether I was making $5,000 a month or $500,000 a month. Or 1 month in May of 2006, 1.6 million for the month. Somehow it was all gone anyway. It didn't matter how much we were making, 100,000 a month, 200,000 a month, 500,000 a month, $1 million a month, didn't make a difference. Somehow it was always gone. Now at the time, I just thought, yeah, we're growing. We're busy. We're investing. We're this. We're all types of rational excuses. No, yeah, the money, I don't have it in the bank anymore, but it's invested in the stock or in the bond or in the this or in the that, or all tips, different types of explanations of why I don't have it. You made it, but it's gone. You made the money, but it's gone. You're always struggling to finish the month. You just made $200,000 last month. How come you don't have any money? How come you're constantly struggling? How come you have to make money this month to survive? How do some businesses, you see them, there's some companies out there, they make literally hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. They have problems for 6 months, bankruptcy. How? How do you make so much money in 6 months of difficulty? Bankruptcy. What happened? Where did the money go? Yad Hashem takes control of everything. The hand of Hashem takes control of everything. And if He wants you to have the money, it doesn't matter how much money you make. In the Gemara, in Masechet Beitzah, page 16a, and then also in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 16b, it says that the Parnasa of a person is decided on Rosh Hashanah until Rosh Hashanah. What does it mean, Parnasa is decided Rosh Hashanah until Rosh Hashanah? So one time, there was a guy that was selling water. Passed by the Baal Shem Tov, and Baal Shem Tov asked him, how are you doing? Kvod Harav, Baruch Hashem. Everything is good. Baruch Hashem, I have a job. Doing this for 20 years already. Baruch Hashem, everything's okay. Baruch Hashem. The next day, he sees the same guy. Nothing changed. It's still hot outside, like a desert. The water is still as heavy as it was yesterday. He did it yesterday for 20 years. Today, it's 20 years in 1 day. Nothing really changed. Baal Shem Tov asked him, how you doing? Kvod Harav, kaparat avonot, with this job. 20 years I'm carrying this water, and it's so hot, and it's so heavy, and it's so difficult, and I'm not making enough money. What happened? Yesterday was good. Yesterday was Baruch Hashem. What happened today? Where's the Baruch Hashem today? What happened? The Baal Shem Tov tells him, Baruch Hashem, you helped me today. You helped me. You gave me a chidush. Me gave you a chidush? What chidush I gave you? I'm carrying water for the Rab. What chidush did I give you? He says, the Gemara says, the Parnasa is decided already in Shamayim from Rosh Hashanah until Rosh Hashanah. It's decided on Rosh Hashanah how much money you're going to make. It doesn't matter if you work 3 days a week, 7 days a week, 30 hours a day, 3 hours a day. If you're a stockbroker, if you sell wood, if you sell pencils, if you sell Q-tips to hotel chains, if you sell jewelry, if you sell whatever you sell, Hashem decides how much money He's going to give you on Rosh Hashanah. Regardless of how much you work, regardless of how much you do, it doesn't make a difference. But the Mishnah, which came before the Gemara, says that the Parnasa is also decided every day. So the Baal Shem Tov says, I always ask myself, if it's already decided on Rosh Hashanah, why am I being judged again every day? It already decided. Why? Hashem is going to change His mind? Hashem doesn't change His mind. Even Bilam HaRasha knew. He told Balak, what do you think? Hashem changed His mind like a human being? He doesn't change His mind. So why, if it's already decided, already on Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to make 100,000, I'm going to make 100 million, whatever is decided, what's being decided every day? And you help me get the chidush. What's the chidush? It's already decided how much you're going to make on Rosh Hashanah, regardless of whether you sell wood or you sell diamonds. But every day, it's decided how you're going to make it. If it's going to be PARNASA TOVA or PARNASA RA. If it's going to be easy, like someone's going to give you, hey, by the way, sir, you just Here's a bonus, $500 for the day. I didn't even do anything. No, no. I like you. Here's $500. Here's a tip. Or it's going to be a lawsuit, Hashem Melachem, a car accident. Some people think that there's a mistake in the system. They say, oh, wait, Hashem decided I'm going to make money on Rosh Hashanah. 3 days after Rosh Hashanah, I got fired. How am I going to make Parnasa Tova? What, Hashem said I'm not going to make any money? No, he could have decided you're still going to make $1 million this year. But instead, it's going to be from a car accident. Instead, it's going to be from a lawsuit. Instead, it's going to be from Hashem Melachem, some type of other ason. You ask anybody with a brain, do you rather make a decent living off of a normal job or through a car accident? Any normal person would tell you, no, no, no. Give me 10% of the money, just no accident. I don't want to lose an arm, lose a leg, lose an eye, lose anything. But sometimes people get so desperate with their infatuation with money that I've heard at least a couple of times in my life. Somebody says, you know what, it's not so bad. If I get hit by a bus, but I can make an extra few $1 million, what's the big deal? At least I have the money. Now all of you normal people are thinking this guy's crazy. That person that said it was a Jew. But unfortunately, a Jew without Torah. And a Jew without Torah, the Gemara calls them an Am Haaretz. What's an Am Haaretz? Who's described as an Am Haaretz in the Torah? The Goyim. The Torah says that a Jew without learning Torah is no different than a Goy. To such an extent that, according to the Gemara Masechet Pesachim, a Jew that does not learn Torah should not be allowed to eat meat. Why? The cow is better than him. This is what the sages say. This is what Rabbi Akiva says. This is what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says. Why? Because at least the cow says, Odu Hashem ki tov. The cow says, thank you Hashem for giving me some grass to eat. Thank you Hashem for giving me some air to breathe. The Jew, how is he going to say thank you to Hashem if he doesn't even know he exists? How? So most people want to know the secret to Parnasa Tova. So first and foremost, we have to learn how to avoid Parnasa Ra'ah. How to avoid bad Parnasa. And that's really the secret to Parnasa Tova. Once we avoid all the obstacles of getting Parnasa Ra'ah, bad Parnasa, only leaves room for Parnasa Tova. Now, when I did investments for almost 16 years, we ran a hedge fund, a brokerage firm, an investment firm, or an insurance company, all types of things. And different people would come to invest with us, and different people would come to work for us. And at least a couple of times a week, there would be a young guy with a lot of courage and a lot of chutzpah would tell me, listen, let me have the money that you're managing for your clients, or at least give me a portion of it. Give me $100 million. Like it's nothing, like I just found it on the street. Give me $100 million, I'll manage it for you. You don't have to worry about anything. You can go to Vegas, you go on vacation, I'll manage it for you. You don't have to worry about anything. The kid just came out of diapers. He's 18 years old. He just found out what it means to be a male. But he wants to manage $100 million. So I said, how could it be? So what makes you so confident, now that you're out of a diaper, what makes you so confident that you can manage $100 million that people worked really hard for? What makes you so confident to manage $100 million? No, $100 million is? What makes you so confident? He says, no, it's easy. I did it. I had a demo account. I had a demo account on Yahoo with fake money. And I started the account with 100 million fake dollars, and I invested in different stocks. And right now he tells me I got $1 billion. You're lucky I'm willing to work for you. So if you give me the $100 million, I'll do the same thing I did with the fake money. We're both rich. Just give me 50%. You don't have to work anymore. I'm your retirement plan, he tells me. You think you got the job? Only a fool will give such a person anything. And the reason why is because demo money is not real money. You're never going to be as good with real money as you are with demo money. Never. It's never the same. Why is it never the same? Because the most critical part of managing money is managing your emotions. When it's fake money, there's no emotions. Who cares if you lose? It's no different than a terrorist. You can't beat the terrorists. Why? They're willing to die anyway. What are you going to do? I'm going to kill you? Okay, fine. I was going to do it for you, but okay, you want to kill me? Help me out. It's easier. You can't beat the terrorists. They're willing to die. The guy playing with the demo money has nothing to lose. He'll invest in anything. He'll invest in penny stocks. He'll invest in fake companies. He'll invest in the Ponzi scheme. He'll invest in anything. It sounds good. Who cares? Big deal. Bitcoin. There's actually, by the way, just to show you the level of stupidity that's happening in the financial markets. Not that I track it, but I have a few students that keep bothering me about this thing. And I looked at it for 5 minutes. And I said, listen, just to show you, prove you an example, that only fools are investing in this, regardless of what it says on TV. Only fools. There's actually a coin called Ponzi coin. Ponzi. You know what Ponzi? Ponzi is a Ponzi scheme. It's a scam. The guy started a joke. He started a website. And he said, I'm starting a coin in a few months. And it's going to be a Ponzi scam. Meaning everything you deposit into my coin, I'm going to steal from you. He writes it outright, it's a joke, but he writes it on the website. I'm going to steal all the money from you. He launched the coin. Within 8 hours, $250,000 was deposited into his account. He shut down the coin. He said, I never realized how stupid people are. I told you I'm going to steal the money from you. You still gave me the money. Obviously, it was a joke, but you guys are really stupid. Now, what's the stupider part of it? It's still trading to this day, a month later. People are still investing into it.
But it's working.
Working?
People make millions.
Yes, and eventually it's all going to go to zero.
Yeah.
The point is, Rabotai Yekarim, is stupidity. If stupidity itself was a stock, I would invest into it. Why? The price would be to infinity. But this also has to do with us. We ask the same Yad Hashem, the same hand of Hashem to give us PARNASA when we don't even know how to say thank you sometimes. We don't know how to say thank you. We ask Hashem for PARNASA TOVA. We ask Hashem for all types of sgulot, all types of miracles of how to give us a good living. But we're not avoiding any of the potholes and bombs in the way that are ruining our PARNASA. So Hashem says, the best sgula is to be a am sgula. You be the sgula. People always look for sgulot. They look for like magic tricks, little shortcuts of how to do certain things. There's little different things you can do to get more money, to get married, to have refuah shlema, to have different things. But there's one sgula that's above all. What is it? You. Be a am sgula. You be the sgula. You do so good with your connection with Hashem Yitbarach, just you existing, that's the best sgula in the world. That's the key to all the success you can possibly have. Now, when someone is trading with fake money, with demo money, it's very easy for them to succeed because they don't realize that it's all fake. They don't realize that they're stepping in places that they're not supposed to. But if you give somebody real money, they're not going to trade the same. And the reason why is because as soon as they step on a pothole and they start seeing real pain, because the boss is throwing a stapler at their head because they just lost them $1 million, or the customer is calling, he wants to sue the company because they lost $20 million. It's not the same thing as demo money anymore. Why? There's actually something happening. People's lives are changing because the money keeps going up and down. If you keep investing in nonsense, people are going to get affected by it and they're going to do something about it. It's not like fake money that no one cares and no one knows and nothing happens. So I have a question for you. Do you want me to give you advice that's not going to work, similar to demo, accounts, but you want me to give you advice for PARNASA TOVA that's a little more difficult, but actually is going to work. Meaning, I can give you all types of sgulot. I give you a book of sgulot, of different things you can do, and you're going to make all these types of different things that says, you do this, you're going to make money. Do this, you're going to make money. Do this, you're going to have kids. You do this, you're going to have kids. All these different things. All different sgulot. There's books of sgulot. And then I can tell you 3 things instead that are definitely going to work. The 100 first ones are not going to work. But you'll have them at least. It's like demo money. You'll have fake $100 million. The 3 are definitely going to work. But it's much more risky. It's much more significant. It's much more difficult. Most people are going to want the second choice. Even though some of you are looking confused right now, it's the second choice is the right one. So, first and foremost, a person needs to understand that when the Gemara says that Hashem Yitbarach created the Shabbat in order for you to in order for you to cease your creation, He didn't necessarily just mean stop lighting fire. Obviously, you have to stop lighting fire. Obviously, you have to stop driving cars. Obviously, you have to stop turning on the TV if you even still have a TV. It's obvious. But unfortunately, there's much more that most people don't even know. Most people think that they're keeping Shabbat, but in reality that they're violating Shabbat. Even though they're not driving, even though they may not be exchanging money physically, even though they're not on the internet, they're not on their phone, but they're still violating Shabbat. Why? They're still talking business. And today is no different than any other day. Most business is made with your lips. Most business is just simple conversation. So, when many Shulchanei Shabbat, you have the Kiddush, you say to Hashem, thank you very much for giving us the Shabbat. You do the Kiddush on the wine, you do the Kiddush on the bread, you eat enough food for a week, and all the great things, and you start talking. Now, if the conversation is about the Kiddush you heard in the Torah, the Gemara, the Parashat Shavua, all of those things, Ashrecha. The reality is that most conversations in Shulchanei Shabbat don't have much to do with that. They give the kids maybe 5 or 10 minutes attention. Tell them, oh, give us the Chidush that you heard, just to, make them feel like they're part of the whole thing. They have the kids say a Dvar Torah, and then the kid goes to sleep, or goes to play, or goes somewhere else, and everybody else continues back to their conversation. And what's the conversation about? Oh, that piece of real estate? Yeah, that building, I think I'm going to buy it. No, that one? No, I think I'm going to sell it. That diamond? It's a great piece. I think I'm going to invest in it. I think, well, you want to go partners? Okay, we'll talk about after Shabbat. You just made the deal now. We'll talk about it after Shabbat. No, we don't make the deal now. We talk about it after Shabbat. What's a D flawless? No, it's a VVS, it's a VV this, it's a VV that. People, mamash, talk 100% business on Shulchan Shabbat. But you tell them you keep Shabbat. Come on, of course I keep Shabbat. Chas v'shalom, what do you think, I'm a goy? Of course I keep Shabbat. Didn't Rambam said, mot yumat, all those things? I said, no, it even says worse. It even says worse. What does it say on a Mechalel Shabbat, Rabotai? What does it say? Many of us know somebody that's a Mechalel Shabbat. A recent statistic by PEW Research Center that I read made me sick to my stomach. First, it said that 90% of American Jews do not keep Shabbat. This is not a chidush. It's sad. It's horrible. But out of 6 million American Jews, only 600,000 keep Shabbat. 5.4 million do not keep Shabbat. This is a problem. It's not the chidush I'm about to tell you, though. Sad. Both me and you want to cry about it. But there's something even sadder. What's sadder? The same research said that although 90% of American Jews do not keep Shabbat, 94% believe it's okay to work on Shabbat. 90% don't work on Shabbat, but 94% believe it's okay to work on Shabbat. Meaning that 4% of the 10%, which is really 40%, 4% of the Shomrei Shabbat say, no, you won't work. You want to work, you need to work. Listen, Hashem didn't give you enough PARNASA, work on Shabbat. What can you do? Hashem has to manage. He didn't give you enough money. It's his fault. Meaning 40% of the so-called religious Jews admittedly say it's okay to work on Shabbat if you need to. Meaning the problem is not just with the secular people, the Reform, the conservative, the atheists, the messianics, and all the other stuff that's in between. The problem is in the religious community as well. And the reason why is because most people simply do not know the magnitude of Chilul Shabbat. Now I'm not going to go into the details that I went into in my shiur about Gehenom. That's not for here. But I'm going to tell you a couple of small things that will shock you, because most people simply don't know this. According to the Rambam, in Ilchot Shabbat, chapter 30, a Jew that violates Shabbat regularly, not that he does it by accident. If he does it by accident, turns on the light by accident, or something like that, it's a different story. He has to bring a korban chatat. He has to give tzedakah, he has to do tshuva, but it's not on purpose. Someone that drives on Shabbat, someone that smokes cigarettes on Shabbat, someone that works on Shabbat, which includes the people that think they keep Shabbat, but they're talking business on Shabbat. They're talking about diamonds and jewelry and business and the stock market and bitcoins and real estate and pretty much a lot of people. A lot of people. Those people, someone that violates Shabbat on a regular basis, the Rambam says in Ilchot Shabbat chapter 30, in the eyes of Hashem, he's considered 100% an idol worshiper. Why an idol worshiper? Why? What's one thing have to do with the other? The idol worshiper is praying to Buddha. This guy just did kiddush on wine. This guy just drove a car. Big deal. He believes. You ask most Jews, you ask them, do you believe in God? They'll tell you yes. Most. Do you know who God is? No, not so much. Do you know that you have to do Shema Yisrael? Not so much. You know that there's a reward and punishment? Not so much. But is there a God? Most Jews will tell you yes. Most. You ask people that really have some decent heritage in the Bukharian communities, Israeli communities, and so on, most have some level of belief in Hashem. They don't necessarily know much about the obligations, but they believe in God. There's a starting point. You ask them, do you talk business on Shabbat? Yeah, what's the big deal? I'm only talking. I'm not doing any transactions. I'm not giving them any money. Just talking, just words. Business is just words. I built a $100 million business with just words. Not once did I ever take cash. Not one time. Not one time my entire career for 16 years did anybody ever give me money in my hands. Why? We didn't work with money. We worked with digits, computers. You send money on a computer. Even when somebody would send a check, I wouldn't see it. It would just go directly into a bank. It was all digital. Who deals with cash anymore? What am I, ice cream truck? Who deals with cash? Nobody deals with cash. It's all talking. Mr. Jones, do you want to buy? It's $1.5 million for so-and-so. Yes? No? Yes? If you say yes, I make $60,000 today. If you say no, then I'll call somebody else and make $60,000. Beginning, end the conversation. Yes or no? It's all talk. But people think, no, I'm just talking. I'm not doing anything. It's Chilul Shabbat. And 94% of American Jews feel it's okay to work on Shabbat. Feel it's okay to work on Shabbat. The Rambam says those people are considered idol worshippers. And the reason why is just like the idol worshipper replaced Hashem Yitbarach, the source of all water, with holes in the middle of the desert. Broken holes, broken cisterns, like the prophet Jeremiah says, that can't even hold water. Just like he replaced the source of all water, of all good, with nothing. The Jew that talked business on Shabbat, the Jew that worked on Shabbat, the Jew that's not keeping Shabbat, same thing. He replaced me with nothing, he replaced me with nothing. Now how bad does it really get? In the second book of Ech Tov LeYisrael from Rabbi Ephraim, One of the shelot that's asked is Islam considered idolatry? Are the Ishmaelim, Imach Shimam, considered idol worshippers? For the most part, they're evil. Some are decent human beings, but many of them want to kill us. You do statistics, a few Prager University and a few other major research houses did statistics. It's not a conspiracy. Most of them want to kill us. It has nothing to do with us not liking them. It has to do with them just wanting us to cease existence because that's their job in the world. Why did this happen, by the way? Does anybody know? The Midrash says something awful. Awful. Small actions, big reactions. All of us remember Sarah Imenu. You heard Sarah Imenu, the wife of Avraham, Tzadikah, Kedosha. Hashem said, Avraham, listen to your wife. What does it mean, listen to your wife? She's a bigger prophet than you. Sarah, bigger prophet than Avraham. Bigger prophet. Sarah made a mistake one time. She mistreated Hagar. Mistreated her. Mistreated her. She didn't act so nice. Tiny small thing, okay, she said something, she did some things, but she didn't kill her. Did a few things, small things. Tzara imenu, big deal, no? What's midah keneged midah? What's the measure for measure? Hashem says, just like Sarah imenu mistreated Hagar, her descendants, Ishmael, is going to torture Am Yisrael until Mashiach comes. Midah keneged midah. Small action, big reaction. Shock of a lifetime when you understand what it means. This is all part of the cheshbonot of Shamayim. There's no solution other than tshuva. Now, unlike the Christians, the halacha is, according to the Rambam, that Islam is not idolatry. It's not idolatry. But Christianity is idolatry. So Rabbi Ephraim writes the details of why it's not idolatry. But then he gives something that's mentioned in the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah that is very relevant to us. The Gemara says that if you have uncooked wine, and a idol worshiper touches the wine, you have to throw it out. You're not allowed to enjoy it by drinking it, and you're not allowed to sell it either. You're not allowed to enjoy it from consuming it or from any other way. You have to destroy it. Once it's open, yes. You gave him a cup of Kiddush cup, it's uncooked wine, the idol worshiper shook it, held it, touched it, even if it's the whole bottle is open, or even if it's the whole barrel. The barrel is open, the idol worshiper shook it a little bit, garbage. You are not even allowed to give it to your dog. Little Christian, believes in J.C. Penney. Touch the thing, that's it, it's all garbage. Could be the whole barrel of wine, could be $500,000 if it's expensive wine. Garbage. Not allowed to give it to dogs, cats, can't sell it, can't do anything with it. All you can do with it is throw it out. Same thing you can do with the wigs that come from Avodah Zarah in India. Only mitzvah you have with wigs from India is to burn it. It's the only thing you can do with it. Other than that, there's no other mitzvah to do with it. Now, that's because Avodah Zarah is detestable by Hashem. It's disgusting to Hashem. You've replaced everything with nothing. Part 2. If someone that's a Muslim, touches your wine, what can you do? It's open. Again, it's open. If it's closed, it's a different story. If it's open, what can you do with this wine? You're not allowed to drink it, but you are allowed to sell it. You're allowed to give it to your dog. You're allowed to give it to a non-Jew. You're allowed to sell it. You're allowed to enjoy it. Why? Because he's not an idol worshiper. But you're not allowed to drink it. Idol worshiper, garbage. Not idol worshiper, you can enjoy it in some regards, but you can't consume it. Shock of a lifetime. if a mechalel Shabbat touches your wine, he has the same deen as the idol worshiper. He has the same deen as the idol worshiper, the guy that prays to Buddha. You must throw out the wine, meaning even if Yimach the Muhammad himself comes and he touches the wine, you're still allowed to sell it. But your fellow Jew, your brother, your sister, the Mechalel Shabbat, you can't touch the wine. If that doesn't make you sad about Am Yisrael, what's going to make you sad? It's a sin. It's a sin from the Torah. As a matter of fact, to give him to touch it is a sin. You ruined wine. To give him the wine is not allowed. Why? You ruined wine. Not allowed to ruin wine. It's bal tashchit. Your brother, your sister, your father, your mother, somewhere it's relevant to you, your best friend from childhood, just touch the wine, you're not allowed to drink it, you're not allowed to do anything. You have to judge it the same way as Avodah Zarah, Hashem Yirachem. But the Muslim terrorists, it's okay, we can still sell it, we can still make a few dollars off of it. That's alacha, Rabotai. It doesn't make sense, but that's God. Why am I telling you these shocking facts? Because if we don't start understanding the significance of Shabbat, we're all going to continue violating it. Even the ones that call ourselves Shomrei Shabbat. If you don't learn Alachot Shabbat, you're guaranteed to be violating Shabbat. If you don't come to the Rav on a regular basis every week, for the Rav, teach me Alachot Shabbat. For the Rav, what book can I have to learn Alachot Shabbat? You're guaranteed to be violating Shabbat. One guy told me, I keep Shabbat already for 10 years. I said, you're probably not keeping Shabbat. He said, no, well, how do you know I don't keep Shabbat? I said, you don't learn. How could you learn? How can you keep Shabbat? You're not learning. There's no way that you're keeping Shabbat. He goes, I'm keeping Shabbat for 10 years. What, are you a prophet? I said, there's no way you're keeping Shabbat. He said, okay, prove it. I said, no problem. Do you eat peanuts? Do you eat cashews? Anything? He goes, yeah, sure. Why? It's not allowed? I said, it's allowed. It's allowed. You're allowed to eat pistachios. You like pistachios? Yeah, I love pistachios. You eat pistachios? He goes, almost every Shabbat. I said, how do you eat pistachios? He says, what do you mean how do I eat pistachios? I open the peel, I put it in this, I eat pistachios. I said, you're violating Shabbat. Well, it's not allowed to eat pistachios. It's allowed to eat pistachios, but it's not allowed to do borer. It's not allowed to separate the good from the bad, meaning that you have to have two piles. One with good and bad, one with just good. Meaning, even in the garbage pile, you have to have a few pistachios that are unopened, that are good, that are eatable. Why? Because if you separate the bad, the peel, from the pistachio itself, it's borer. This is a small, tiny little thing, but it's chilul Shabbat, Rabotai. If you don't know it, you're violating Shabbat. It's small, little, tiny things. But like we saw with Sarai Menu, small, tiny thing, we're still suffering for it till this day. Moshe Rabbeinu, small, tiny little thing, we're still suffering to this day. Small little steps make big actions in Shamayim. It's not the same thing. So first and foremost, you want a skula for PARNASA TOVA, you have to keep Shabbat perfect. Perfect, like you have to learn everything there is to know about it. You have to be the expert, and you got to get other people to keep Shabbat. You're obligated to get other people to keep Shabbat. Why are you obligated to get other people to keep Shabbat? Because until now, you've been violating Shabbat, probably. Until now, I've been violating Shabbat, probably. At some point, we violated Shabbat. We made some mistakes. So you're going to go up to Shamayim after 120 and say, oh, yeah, good job. You went to the shiur, you kept Shabbat, ashrecha, good job. But for 10 years before that, you didn't keep Shabbat. So there's a deficit in your account. There's a deficit in your account. Oh, sorry, sir. You have to go to Gehenom. What do you mean? I've been keeping Shabbat. Yes, you kept Shabbat. For all the years you kept Shabbat, Gan Eden. But there was 10 years you didn't keep Shabbat. You were pistachios and hot water, and you were talking business and all those things. So what are you going to do? Well, how could I go back in the future? What am I going to do? So, there's a solution. What's the solution, Rabotai? Hashem Yitbarach gives us the solution. What's the solution? He says to the prophet Yechezkel, Neum Adonai Elohim, Shuvu ve'ashivu, mikol pish'echem ve'lo yeh lachem limichshol avon. Return and bring others back from your transgressions so that they are not an obstacle to your iniquity. Meaning, you want to have a full account of Shabbat, get other people to keep Shabbat. Why? There was a few years you didn't keep Shabbat. But if you get your friend, your brother, your cousin, someone to start keeping Shabbat. Every Shabbat you keep and they keep, that's 2 Shabbats for you. So now you show up to Shemaim, you have 2 Shabbats now. And then next week, another 2 Shabbats. And next week, another 2 Shabbats. If you get 10 people, 10 Shabbats. 20 people, 20 Shabbats. 30 people, turn on the button in the back. There's a little clip in the back to turn on the extra battery. There's a little button in the back, little clip in the back, that turns the second battery. There's just one switch in the back, yeah. There you go. Chazak u'baruch. So, Rabotai Yekarim, we have a deficit right now. We all have a deficit. We all made a mistake somewhere. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes accident. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes accident. I, Baruch Hashem, made plenty of sins in my life because I live most of my life as a Chiloni. I have a lot of work to do. Some of you were the same, some of you are better. I don't know. It doesn't make a difference. Point is, to do tshuva, the Prophet Yechezkel says we're all obligated to do the same thing. We're all obligated to do kiruv. Why? We all have a deficit. We all messed up somewhere. So how do we do it? You get one person to do tshuva, maybe he's going to get his wife to do tshuva. Maybe the wife's going to make the husband do tshuva. Now the kids are going to be little tzaddikim. Everybody's going to do tshuva. Everybody's going to start keeping mitzvot. All of it goes to your account. Now all 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years you've been violating. Now every week you got 40 Shabbats. Every week you're making up for a whole year. That's tshuva. So first and foremost, you want PARNASA TOVA, start keeping Shabbat and get other people to keep Shabbat. Second thing, much easier. Much easier to say, much more difficult to do. This may sound strange, but I touched on it a little bit before. We have to stop stealing. That's the skula. The skula is you have to stop stealing. Shlomo HaMelech says if you want guaranteed to lose all of your money, either steal or go to prostitutes. Baruch Hashem, I don't think anybody here, Chas v'Shalom, ever goes to such things. But unfortunately, many of us don't even know that sometimes our business is so dishonest, it's considered in Shemaim 100% stealing. You have to make sure that your money is kosher. Not just in your eyes, in the eyes of Hashem. In the eyes of Hashem. You have to make sure that halachically your money is kosher. If your money is not coming in a kosher way, you have to find a new way to make money. There's no etel. There's no leniency. Oh, no. It's not a kosher, but I'm giving 20% tzedakah. It's not kosher, but I'm giving 50% of the money to the Beit Knesset. Look, we're expanding, Baruch Hashem. Look, I'm paying for it. It's not kosher money, but I'm paying for a lot of tzedakah. No. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as making a mitzvah through sin. The money has to be kosher. It has to be kosher. It's much more difficult to do because sometimes it requires people to change careers. Sometimes it requires them to change customers. Sometimes it requires them to change partnerships. Sometimes you have a partner who's mamash a thief, and he's not going to change. He likes to steal. He doesn't care about Olam Haba. He doesn't care about anything other than the Bentley that he wants to buy. He doesn't care about anything other than expansion to his house. He's willing to kill, lie, steal. He's willing to do anything for money. You have to change partners. It's difficult. Easy to say, though. It's much less than the Shabbat halacha. But it's much more difficult to do because it requires us to sometimes change our life. Change our life to such an extent that you may have to change a business. There are some businesses that by default are stealing. I'll give you an example that unfortunately many Jews fall into. I remember when I was a kid, it's 20 years ago, it was very popular to sell electronics. Now, what are Jewish people doing in electronics when the Japanese and the Chinese are making it? What are we doing in that business? Apparently, a certain sect within Judaism found a niche 20 years ago of how to cheat. What they do, they would buy refurbished goods, they would buy a machine, they would buy a computer that's not new, that it broke, that went bad. Somebody returned it to the company. The company fixed it because of the warranty and gave it back. But the guy doesn't want it anymore and he returned it to the store. So the store is not going to be able to sell it as new anymore, even though technically all the parts in it are brand new. And even though it's probably even better than a brand new machine, in reality it does not have the same value. Just like the car that's, let's say, a $500,000 car. It's, I don't know, Rolls Royce or whatever car is worth $500,000. On the lot, it's $500,000. The second it drives off the lot, for 1 second, it drops by at least 30%. Why? But there's not even a mile on it. It doesn't make a difference. It's no longer new. Once it leaves the lot, it's no longer new. Once somebody opens the box, it's no longer new. It no longer has the same value. Makes sense or not? That's reality. That's capitalism. So some people will buy these refurbished machines and sell them. Now, there's no problem with buying refurbished machines and selling them. There's no problem with that. What's the problem? What's the stealing? The stealing is selling the refurbished as new. Selling the refurbished, taking off the stickers that it says refurbished, that says used, and putting other stickers that say new, and putting stickers that somehow they would get to put the box and make it look new, and sell it as new. So now, instead of selling it for $300 because it's used, because it's a refurbished machine, now it's worth $9.99. Now it's worth 3 times the amount. This is 100% stealing. Every machine you stole. Every single machine. Unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, this is still happening to this day. It's still happening to this day. Other businesses. There are people that go into the lending business. First and foremost, you should know that being in lending for a Jew is already a problem. Why? Because you have to make sure that all of your customers are not Jewish. What, are you going to start asking every customer on the application, are you Jewish? You're not allowed to do that according to the laws of America. You're not allowed to reject them because they're Jewish. So what are you going to do? How are you going to verify that every customer is a Jew? Why? Because he's called a certain name? I know a guy that's called John Cohen. He's not Jewish. His name is Cohen, but he's not Jewish. So you can't tell by names. How are you going to verify if he's Jewish? Why is it a problem if he's Jewish or not? Because if he's a Jew and you lent him money, you have just lost Olam Haba. Why? Because you're not lending him the money for free. You're lending him the money for interest, especially these small lenders. Small lenders, big interest. You're charging the guy interest. You're charging the guy 20, 30% interest, whatever is legal, plus or minus an extra couple of percent. You're lending him money. He's paying an arm and a leg. Most of the time they can't ever pay it back because the interest is so high. So they have to refinance it and refinance it and refinance it and refinance it, and they're going to go bankrupt. And the government pays for it. But in reality, this is a, from the gate, from the door, it's already a forgivable loan, meaning no one's ever getting paid back. But the guy is going to pay interest the whole time. You lent him the money, you have a serious problem. You have a serious problem. Many Jews are in that business. And they care less of whether they're lending to Jews or not. Why? Because they think they're doing him a favor. Why? I'm doing him a favor. We wouldn't get the money any other way. That's God's business, not your business. Let him finding another way. Let Hashem run the world. Hashem does not have you here to run the world. He has you here to run your own world, not to run his world. There are problematic businesses. Many people go into other businesses like these carts in malls. Some of them are honest businesses, some of them are not. I'm not going to start going through a list of all the problematic businesses. Also, the investment world is a very problematic business. There's many people that are stealing from customers. I remember it was very popular back then, it's very popular right now, which is to get people to do something called trade. So you get Mr. Jones or Mr. Stevenson or Mr. whatever to invest a bunch of money with you, and you keep encouraging him to trade. Oh yeah, today the stock went up. Oh, today the stock went down. Oh, Bitcoin's up, Bitcoin's down. You keep getting the guy into the hype, and it's very fun. It's like gambling. You get the guy into the hype, and every day he says yes, 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 and you, as the broker, are also saying yes, yes, yes. What's yes, yes, yes? He's saying yes, and you're saying yes to your pocket, because every time you do a transaction, money goes into your pocket for commission. That, by the way, is not only unethical, it's also illegal. It's called churning. There's a term for it in the business. It's called churning. And people go to jail for it and lose their licenses. And last but not least, it's also against the Torah. It's stealing. If there's no real reason to trade and you're just purely doing it to generate commissions, it's 100% stealing. If there's a real reason to trade, then you do it. But most of the people that are trading don't know what they're doing. And I'm telling you from somebody that did it for almost 20 years. Most of the people that are calling you and telling you trade this, trade this, trade this, they're only telling you because it makes them money, not because it makes you money. Historically speaking, the people that actually make money from the investments are not the ones that trade. It's the ones that invest. Hold on for a long time. But the point is, Rabotai Kareem, is that there are many, many problematic businesses. Sometimes you're going to actually steal the wisdom of another person, steal the knowledge of a person. You ask a real estate broker, listen, do me a favor, sell my house. Sell my house. You're going to get a commission, 2%, 5%, 10%, whatever they charge these days. And the guy a week later comes back to you, he says, yeah, no problem, I'm going to sell your house, but instead of $500,000, it's only $400,000. What do you mean? It's $100,000 less than what I asked for. Yeah, what do you think? Listen, it's a tough market. He starts selling you a story of why you should take $400,000. Because you got it really quickly, and then maybe the prices will get bad, maybe it's going to get less, and he convinces you to do something that's really against your own interest. Why? Because he gets money today instead of money in 6 months from now, what actually requires work. This is unethical business. This is how most brokers work. You watch, if anybody still has a TV, Hashem Elechem, in your house, and you still watch any of the shows, there are shows on TV I remember watching years ago where these brokers literally would do this to their customers on live television. Tell them the guy lists the house for $1 million, the guy comes back a week later, yeah, listen, I found you a buyer, great news, great buyer, cash. Okay, great, let's sell it. Oh, it's only $750,000. What do you mean, $250,000 less? You know how hard it is to make $250,000? Hey, listen, you got the money now. What do you want? To get the money now? Or maybe you're never going to get the money. He starts making you feel like, self-conscious. Maybe you're really holding garbage and it's not really worth $1 million. You should take the money and run. And he starts making you self-conscious. Why? Because he wants his money. He doesn't care about your money. For him, he's not losing $250,000. He's not losing a penny. He's making money now. This is unethical business practices. So the second thing is, Rabotai, is much, much easier to say, much more difficult to do. Meaning, we have to change our business practices. We have to change our business practices because if we're not making kosher money, it's impossible for us to have bracha in the money. Impossible for us to bracha. You could be making $1 million a day, but Hashem Elechem, all that money could be going to medicine. There's a guy that I know, he made $100 million in his life. He thought he has everything. And then his 23 or 24-year-old son, which is my cousin, died on Rosh Hashanah. He went on a scooter, which is not allowed, by the way, on Rosh Hashanah, a motor scooter. But they weren't keeping mitzvot, and unfortunately they didn't even believe in God. And a 24-year-old kid woke up one day and didn't wake up the next. He fell off the scooter, he hurt his head. The doctors told him everything's okay. He went back to sleep and he never woke up. Now, how much do you think that $100 million is worth? Exactly zero. Exactly zero. $100 million is worth nothing if you don't have a life. Nothing if you don't have a life. I can tell you I made a ton of money in my life. Before I lost it, I made it. All of it became worthless in one day. Not because I lost it in one day, but because when you don't have your health and you realize that you don't have bracha, it all becomes worthless. Haman HaRasha. Haman HaRasha, we have a lot to learn from him, but we have a lot to learn from him. That's why the Megillat Esther is reminded to us every single year. Why? What's the moral of the story that we're obligated to learn? The moral of the story, Rabotai, is what we learn towards the end of the Megillah. Towards the end of the Megillah, when it all comes through, he tells his wife, I have everything. I have the power from the king to run the world. I have money. I have kids. I have this. I have this. I have this. But I don't have one thing. I don't have this Jew bowing to me. And that makes everything worthless. Rabotai, if you don't have one thing, if you don't have bracha, everything is worthless. Everything is worthless. All the PARNASA TOVA. You can make a lot of money. You can make 15 million a minute. But if there's no bracha, because you have no Shabbat, or you have no kosher, or you have no shlom bayit, or Hashem Elechem, your kids are off the derech, or Torah is not even an obligation in your house, if there's no bracha in the money, you have nothing. The question is, how much are you going to pay for it? Are you going to wait like I did until you lose it all, and then Hashem obligates you to do it? Or you're smarter than I was, And you say, you know what? Before it gets dangerous, let me start doing tshuva. Chatanu, avinu, pashanu. Kvod Harav, do we have shul tomorrow morning? We have a shul tomorrow morning. Why do we have shul tomorrow morning? Because we have to do tshuva. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and every day you have to do shul. Every day you have to learn. Why? Unless you learn Torah, it's impossible for you to be a kosher Jew. It's impossible for you to be saved when Mashiach comes. It's impossible. That's what the Chachamim were trying to tell us all along. You have to learn the Megillah. Not because of only the story of Mordechai being the Kiruv Rabbi that told everybody not to go. Why? No one listened to him anyway. What do you have to learn from? Haman. Haman HaRasha. Why? Haman, the whole story is because he couldn't control his desire. He couldn't control desire. He was willing to pay $334 million cash to Achashverosh just to kill a bunch of people that didn't even affect him because one Jew didn't bow to him. But you have billions, you have trillions, you have everything in the world. It's all worthless. Why? He doesn't have bracha. You don't have bracha, it's all meaningless. That's the moral of the story, Rabotai. I don't know what you have, I don't care. What I do want you to have is blessing in your money. That's what PARNASA TOVA is. That's the moral of PARNASA. It's not more money. It's whatever you have to actually have blessing in it. That way, at the end of every month, you're going to do exactly what this Mishnah in Avot says that we learned a few months ago in our series. It says, Ezeu ashir asameach bechelko. Who's rich? Someone who's happy with his share. How can you be happy with your share if it's less than last year? How can you be happy with your share if it's less than last month? How can you be happy with your share before you even got it? You're happy with your share because it has a blessing. Once it has a blessing, you know where it comes from. Once you know where it comes from, how could it be any bad? How could it be any bad? And that way, when it comes to actually giving donations, when it comes to doing ma'asim tovim, when it comes to paying for yeshivot, when it comes to buying kosher mezuzot, when it comes to doing anything that's relevant to Hashem, you don't feel like it's an onus on you, it's a big thing. Why? All you're doing is you're fulfilling your obligation of the partnership. He gave you 100%, you give 10. Big deal. We don't want to be like Nagdimon ben Gurion. The Gemara says, Nagdimon ben Gurion was so rich, he was the richest man of the land. So rich that he was one of 3 people that supplied food to all of Am Yisrael for 3 years. One day Rabbi Yochanan sees his daughter searching for food. Where? Inside the, excuse me from Kvotchem, the waste of the chamurim, of the donkeys. In the poop of the donkeys. So Rabbi Yochanan says, who are you? What are you doing here? Why are you looking through the poop of donkeys? So I'm looking for chita, I'm looking for some wheat, for some grains that the donkeys weren't able to digest so we could eat them. Shem Erachem, that's level of poverty. He says, who are you? Who are you? What happened? How did they get to such a point? He says, I'm the daughter of Nagdimon ben Gurion. Rabbi Yochanan has almost a heart attack. He says, how could it be? Your father is tzaddik. Your father is Ashir Gadol. Your father is Tamid Chacham. Hashem stopped the sun for him in the sky. He's one of 2 people in history. Hashem stopped the sun for him in the sky. It's not a Rasha. It's not just somebody with a lot of money who know mitzvot. Tzaddik. So how could it be? Your father gave a lot of tzedakah. He says, tzedakah tetzil mimavet. He says, yes, tzedakah tetzil mimavet. But he didn't give enough. What do you mean? He gave for all Am Yisrael. It wasn't enough. Wasn't enough. A lot of people think they gave enough. I gave over $1 million. Rabotai, it wasn't enough. Why? If it was enough, I'd still have it. If it was enough, you'd have blessing in the money. If it was enough, you'd be sameach bechelko. You'd be happy with your share. If you're giving enough, you feel a spiritual connection to your life, to the money that you're making. Your money becomes like you limud Torah. Someone that actually does kosher things with their money, they make money and automatically they give their share to Hashem. Automatically they give it towards Torah and mitzvot. Automatically they do good things with it. Not just sponsor Hanukkah parties. Okay, chazak u'boch for the donuts, but we need more Jews than donuts. Somebody that's connected to Hashem on a regular basis. Not when they're sick. Not when someone else is sick. On a regular basis. Makes kosher money and operates like a kosher person, is samech b'chilko. Why? His parnasa is so good, it's such parnasa tova, Chazal says, it's like he learned Torah all day. It's like he learned Torah all day. Why? he made X amount of money. He knows by default is Issachar and Zvulun. He knows by default a part of that money must go to somebody learning Torah. Must go to somebody that's going to do tshuva. Why? If we continue the way we're doing and all we worry about is making more and building bigger houses and getting more cars and bigger watches and more diamonds and all the materialism, then all we're left with is materialism. But when the Mashiach comes, Shem Erachem. So Rabotai Yekarim, this is the moral of the story. You want PARNASA TOVA? It's not too difficult. It's not too difficult. The information is not too difficult. To do it takes a little time. But Be'ezrat Hashem, this Purim will help us all do tshuva, and this tshuva will start with our pockets. Any questions? Yes.
I understand that the person who gave somebody the uncooked wine gets a sin, right?
Good.
But what happens to the person who drinks it?
It's also a sin. It's also, I mean, listen, someone that violates Shabbat should not be touching anything that he's not supposed to. So in essence, somebody that's it's only if it's uncooked wine. Most people that buy wine on Shabbat, by the way, it's usually cooked wine. They usually buy grape juice or they buy cheaper wine that's cooked wine. But if it's uncooked wine, it's not, if you're going to invite people, if you're going to invite people to your house that don't keep Shabbat, then give them cooked wine. Give them grape juice or give them cooked wine, so at least they're not making a sin and you're not making a sin. So that eliminates that obstacle. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the majority of the banks are owned by Jews, right? How does that work?
Well, majority of banks are owned by shareholders, meaning it's not just Jews, it's shareholders. So meaning that most big institutions, whether it's Bank of America or Citibank or any of these major companies, they're very, very big companies. And most banks, even small local banks, they're still big institutions that's owned by shareholders. Once it's owned by shareholders, then the poskim look at the majority. If the majority of the shareholders are goyim, then you're allowed to borrow from them. But if it's, let's say, owned, if you know that this one lender, you're not even borrowing it from a bank, you're borrowing it from a person, and he's a Jew, the only way you're allowed to borrow from him is if he doesn't charge you interest. If he charges you interest, you're not allowed to borrow it, because the person that borrows the money and pays interest and the person that charges the interest, both of them make a sin.
That's the problem. You don't know exactly who's who and who's in charge of what.
Right, so if you're borrowing from a big bank, for example, for a mortgage, you have nothing to worry about because there's enough leniency, as the Rav would tell you, that most of these banks are owned by shareholders. And if they're owned by shareholders, then you have the leniency that it's not owned by a Jew. It's the majority of shareholders in the world are non-Jews. Even though there's a lot of rich Jews in the world, if you look at the dynamics of how many rich Jews there are versus how many rich goyim, we can't compare. So most of the shareholders are non-Jews, and therefore you're allowed to borrow money for a mortgage and things of that nature. There are some tzaddikim that are talmidei chachamim that are more strict. Like, for example, Rav Ephraim, my Rav, he refuses to borrow money for a mortgage or for anything. So to this day, he rents a house, and he will never buy a house until he can pay for it 100% cash. Why? Because he says, I don't know, and he doesn't even want to take the risk. But there is a leniency to, on that regards when it comes to mortgages from a big bank, because most of the shareholders are goyim.
And Shabbat, how do you know whether you're keeping Shabbat or not?
If you learn halachot Shabbat, then you're most likely not going to violate it.
No, meaning you don't drive a car, you don't use any technology, but on Shabbat, you said people talk about sometimes business.
Ken.
Everyone talks about business these days. There's nothing else to talk about.
Ken.
Unless you learn, but some people are not always on that level.
Ken.
They still get an avirah.
So here's the thing. So if I told you, okay, so let's say I have a cup of Baruch Hashem, you guys gave me, you were kind and you gave me some Pepsi or whatever, Sprite or something, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's say, for example, I had 100 of these. I had 100 of them, okay? And you didn't drink all day. You were very, very thirsty. You ran a marathon. You haven't had one drink of water. And I told you, listen, I have 100 of these. Want one? What are you going to say? Yes, right? Say, oh, but one second, before you drink it, one of them, I'm not going to tell you which one, but one of them has poison in it. You can still drink it? No. Why? Because you don't want to take the chance. Same concept. The fact that people talk about business is their problem. Doesn't mean it's your problem. They could talk about business until next year. As a matter of fact, if you actually learn what the Arizal said about Shabbat and what the Chachamim actually said about Shabbat, they said that even a sicha, a common conversation, not even business talk, even just a simple conversation about nothing with your wife is judged in Shamayim. Why? You're not allowed to talk about nothing on Shabbat. Shabbat is a very, very special day, which means that if you have divrei Torah to say, speak as much as you want. If you don't speak. I know it's not easy. I know it's the opposite of the reality you live in, but if I can do it, trust me, you can. I was Mr. Business. Like you said, there was nothing else to talk about. I was the guy. If I can do it, you can do it. How do you do it? Learn Torah. Once you learn a lot of Torah, there's nothing to talk about other than Torah. You're going to talk about what you do. People talk about what they do all day. If your whole life is about business, then all you're going to have to talk about is about business. If your whole life is about watching reality shows, then all you're going to talk about is a reality show. Oh, do you see what Snooki did, and what this guy did, and what that guy... That's all you know is what you talk about. If you watch the market all day, all you're going to talk about is, oh, you see what Cisco and Ebert did, and what Macy's did, and what Sears did, and they're out of business, and they're in business. That's all you know. But if you learn Torah, that you're going to talk about Torah. So now, if your Torah learning is weak, Baruch Hashem, this is why you have Kvod Rav over here, waiting for you to come to Shura Torah. If you want more Shura Torah, every Tuesday night in Aventura, you're exactly 20 minutes away. We have a Shura Torah every Tuesday night at the Breslov Center at 9 o'clock, and it goes on for 3 hours. So even if you're an hour late, like some of my students, you still have 2 hours to go. Even if you're 2 hours late, you still have an hour to go. We're not stringent on people that are late. I have some people come 2 hours late. We're still okay. They still learn for an hour. You want to learn Torah? Tuesday night. If you want more, Sunday night in Hollywood. You want more? Wednesdays in different places in Miami. Point is, there's plenty of Torah. Plenty of Torah. You have to learn every day. You want Olam Haba or you want to go to Gehinom? Which one you want? Olam Haba is a good one. The Gehinom is a bad one. I have a shiur about Gehinom if you want to know. But if you want to go Olam Haba, you have to learn Torah every day. You must learn Torah every day. Why? It's the only way you're going to be a kosher Jew. Without learning Torah, it's impossible to be a kosher Jew. It's only a matter of time before you become part of everybody else. It's a very, very, very important thing that people need to understand. It's not a joke. It's not like, oh, listen, I'm going to keep Shabbat, I'm going to keep kosher, and I'm going to pass by, I'm going to sneak into Gan Eden. It doesn't work that way. The judgment in Shamayim is much stricter than the judgment of Rabbanim. What I'm telling you that may seem harsh, I'm being very nice. If you come to some of my other shulim, you see it's a little more harsher than what I'm saying. And even that's not harsh. Ken.
On Shabbat,
Ken.
you see those kids over there, like those ages,
Ken.
you're allowed to play basketball on Shabbat, like 1 or 2 hours, and like you allowed?
It's not Onek Shabbat. It's not what you're supposed to be doing on Shabbat. It's not what you're supposed to be doing on Shabbat. But when it comes down to learning, when it comes down to kids, it comes down to younger kids, there's a little bit more leniency for shtuyot than there is for adults, but that's assuming they've spent at least as much time learning Torah. So if, let's say for example, the entire Shabbat they spend 3 hours playing basketball and 3 minutes learning Torah, obviously the parents are messing up somewhere. It's not the fault of the kid, it's the fault of the parent. It's not the fault of the kid, it's the fault of the parent. It's 100% of the kid. Obviously, the kid is the kid. Obviously, he has his own brain. But the parent is at fault. It's not just the kid. Why? If the parent tells the kid, listen, this is not acceptable in my house. It's not acceptable in my house. That's simple as it gets. Why? What do you mean don't listen?
Don't listen.
If they don't listen, then you have to be a stronger parent. You have to be it's more difficult. I understand. It's not 1 2 seconds the kid's going to listen. You have to entice them. You have to entice them. So how do you entice them? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Everybody knows Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We're going to celebrate Lag BaOmer. You know Lag BaOmer? That's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. A lot of people like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. But they don't understand. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai also said, if you have to convince your kids to learn Torah with money, ashrecha. Convince them with money. Convince them with money. You have to give them $100 to go learn Torah for 5 hours with you. Give them $100. Give them $200. Whatever you can give them just to convince them to learn Torah. Why? Because if he becomes a Am Haaretz, it's the parent's fault. It's not just his fault. So you have to convince him with money. Convince him with money. In Makom Shelo Lishma, Ba Lishma. So meaning, in the beginning, he's going to have to be convinced with some money. In the beginning, he's going to have to be convinced with some arguments, with some this, some this. Eventually, if you give him sweet Torah, eventually he's going to like it. Eventually, he's going to come Tuesday nights because he wants to learn Torah. In the beginning, it's hard, of course. Today's age, all they see is naked girls and money signs on top of it and big watches bigger than their hands. That's all they see today, miskenim. I feel bad for them. Even the Chachamim in the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, the Chachamim, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos, the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva says, I want the Mashiach to come, but I don't want to be there. Why? He says it's going to be very hard before Mashiach comes. That doesn't mean we have a free ride. Doesn't mean we have a free ride. It does not mean we have a free ride. It just means it's hard. But that's why you have a reward. If it wasn't hard, there's no reward. That's the point. Yeah.
One friend of mine texted me on my phone,
Okay.
on your Facebook Live. He asked me to ask you this question. Ask the rabbi why they say PARNASA comes from a woman, from a wife that covers her hair.
Okay. Zohar Kadosh, this is Zohar. Zohar Kadosh says, Aru Adam, a husband that tells his wife not to cover her hair is considered cursed. He gets the worst curse in the entire Torah. Why? Because once a husband tells his wife not to cover her hair, he's officially becomes one of the 4 people that the Rambam puts in Hilchot Tshuva as someone that's a Machtia Rabim. Why? He caused somebody else to sin. Who he caused? He caused his wife to sin. How? Every time his wife walks around with Gilui Rosh, whether that Gilui Rosh is because her wig looks like it's real hair, or she's really walking around with real hair, every single time a guy looks at her, he's not looking at her because he's thinking about how much of a tzadikah she is. He's looking at her because he's imagining being with her. Every time a guy looks at her, whether he's related to her, not related to her, Jew, non-Jew, he's thinking about her intimately, he's making a sin. Every time he sins, she sins. Every time she sins, her husband sins. That already makes this guy in serious trouble. His only tshuva is to get her to do kisur rosh and get other people to do kisur rosh. Now, the Mishnah also says, Ish isha zachu shchina b'neim. What does it mean, Ish isha zachu shchina b'neim? The Shechina had to come to Mount Sinai to give us the Torah. A Malachim came to Hashem and they told Hashem, you can't go to Mount Sinai. Why you can't go to Mount Sinai? Am Yisrael Ba'alei Mum. Am Yisrael, they all have deformities. Some are missing arms, legs, eyes, ears. They were slaves. They were beat up for so many years. Miskenim. But the Shechina cannot come to a place of imperfection. Hashem says, no big deal. Let me make them perfect. So the guy that was blind, all of a sudden he can see. The guy that was missing a leg, now he grew a leg. The guy that was missing an arm became like the starfish. He grew an arm. Everybody became perfect. And the Shechina was able to come. So the Mishnah says, Ish isha zachu Shechina b'neim. You want the Shechina to come to your house, you have to have Ish isha zachu. What is Ish isha zachu? Shlom bayit. If you have Shlom bayit in your house, everything else comes with it. PARNASA TOVA, refuah shlema, all the good things in the world. If you don't have Shlom bayit, all the bad things in the world. An example, real life example, because people like real life examples. A Baal Tshuva Avrech came to Rabbi Ephraim. This story took place maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. The guy was an Avrech already for 5 years. So Baal Tshuva for maybe 7 years, something like that. Learns Torah all day. He comes to Rabbi Ephraim and he says, Kvod Harav, I have a problem. I had a son, and the son is not leaving the hospital. Misken, the kid is sick. The doctors don't know what's wrong with him. And they're saying that any day may be his last day. Hashem Yerachem. So Rabbi Ephraim asks him a question. He says, what about your wife? How's your wife dealing with it? And the Avrech apparently didn't learn enough Musar. He says, her, she's lucky I'm even married to her. So Rabbi Ephraim says, okay, and he keeps asking him other questions. And then at the end he says, listen, do you want your son to stay in the hospital or do you want him to get out? He goes, that's why I came to you. I need a miracle. I need something. He goes, no, no miracle. Just something simple. He goes, what? He says, if you do what Torah says, you can get a miracle. He goes, what do you mean Torah? I learn Kola. I make 1,500 shekels a month for learning Kola. What? I'm not doing enough? He goes, no. It says, Ish isha zachu Shechina b'neim. You must have Shlom bayit in order for the Shechina to come. Why do you need the Shechina? You need a miracle. The only thing that's going to save your kid is a miracle. Why? I can't do enough, you can't do enough, only thing that Hashem can do. Now apparently, there's no shlom bayit in your house because of how you talk about your wife. If there's no shlom bayit in your house, there's no shechina in your house. No shechina in your house, there's no miracles in your house. So, starting today, you have to do everything you possibly can to honor your wife, like the Rambam says, more than yourself. Become generous, become nice, become this. Everything that you are, change it, make it better.
Buy her jewelry.
Buy her jewelry, for Rosh Chodesh, for Shabbat, all the different things. But also, not just nice with money, nice with words. If she talks, listen to her, and so on and so forth. The guy knew that Rabbi Ephraim was not just telling him some weird skula. He said, okay, fine. 30 days later, after the kids had been in the hospital for 6 months, the doctor said that he may not make it. 30 days later, he runs to Rabbi Ephraim and he tells him, Baruch Hashem, we've had a miracle. The doctors just released the little boy from the hospital. And they asked me, why is he even here? He's perfectly fine. There's no record of him ever being sick. Ish isha zachu, shechina b'neim. When you want miracles, you need Hashem. It's not rabbis. It's not strings. You need Hashem. Once you make Hashem happy, He changes nature for you. That's really what it comes down to. Once a person needs to understand Hashem runs the world, nothing is beyond Hashem. Yeah.
My understanding, you can't read non-Torah related material on Shabbat.
You can't read non-Torah related material.
You can read a fiction novel or something, or the newspaper.
In reality, you can't read any of that stuff anytime. Even more so on Shabbat.
Well, here's my question, actually. If I want to read a story to my child to help, and it's not really about Torah, is that prohibited?
On Shabbat?
Yes.
Why can't you read Torah?
Well, if I had a book and it wasn't Torah related,
Why would you tell it to your son?
to help him learn.
So you could teach him from the Torah.
That might be a little complex versus a children's book.
No, there's the Torah. The good news about Torah is that Hashem gave it to all of us. So Torah is good for all ages. The 5 books of Moses are something that you can explain to all people, whether they're 2 years old or they're 20 years old or they're 90 years old. Obviously, there's different versions for others. The truth applies to all, but there's different details that you give others. So, for example, kids like the details of the stories of Avraham Avinu, fighting the idol worship, breaking the statues, the midrashim, the stories, the background stories, or Adam Rishon, how Hashem created him, and then he made a mistake, and he ate from the tree of knowledge. And you don't necessarily need to tell him the details of the midrashim, that the serpent raped Chava, and what the Zohar says that really means, and there's Gehenom, all those things you don't need to tell him, but because he's young. But the basic level of the story, you can tell every single kid, regardless of what age. And as a matter of fact, you're obligated to tell your son, and that's what it says in Kriyat Shema. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. After that, you read it twice a day. Why? Because after that, it says different psukim from the Torah. One of them is the pasuk V'shinantam bam, that you're obligated to teach your kids. Not teach your kids stories about Harry Potter or about some Dick Tracy, but teach your kids about Torah. Regardless of what age they are, Hashem gave the same 5 books of Moses to every single age. Every single age, just different details to different ages. You don't necessarily want to tell the 2-year-old details of Gehenom, but at the same token, to tell them the story about Avraham Avinu, or Yitzchak, or Yaakov, or Moshe Rabbeinu, or Am Yisrael, making mistakes and so on, that applies to every age. You don't want your kid to spend their quality time with you learning anything but Torah, because when they learn with you, it's very different than when they learn with somebody else. If they learn with somebody else, they're not always going to take it seriously. Why? Because it's not, it's somebody else. No one is as great as Abba. No one is as great as Ima. But if I'm learning with Abba and Ima, then whatever they're teaching me, that means whatever they are teaching me, that's the best. That's what they learn. That's what they know. That's what they spend their time on. Which means that if you're going to teach them Dick Tracy and Spider-Man and Wolverine and all these things, they're going to say, oh, so Wolverine is God. So Spider-Man is God. So Transformers is God. So the NFL is God. So whatever you tell them, that's God. Whatever you tell your kids, that's God. So you have to decide who God is. You decide who God is for them. Because until they have their own mind, which is later on in life, You are going to decide who's God to them. So, and you remember it from you being a kid. I remember it from when I was a kid. Whatever my father told me, what my mom told me, that was God. Whatever my teachers told me, sometimes yes, sometimes no. So you don't want to use that special time you have with your kids telling them that somebody that's not God is God. And the Torah applies to all, and there are many books, Baruch Hashem, that the Chachamim have written, whether it's in Feldheim, or at Art Scroll, or at Moznaim, or different kosher Jewish publications that have written kid versions of every single story in the Torah. You don't want to waste your time teaching them anything else other than that, because the only thing that's going to actually affect their life is Torah. Everything else is not going to affect their life. As far as learning the language, they can learn the language from the Torah. As far as learning math, you can learn math, but that's not something you learn necessarily all day. You learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You already know half of math. Basic things, and that's it. But as far as history, you don't want to teach them history of the Goyim, because that history changes every year and it's full of heresy. Science, you don't want to teach them the science of the Goyim, because that changes every month, because they believe we came from monkeys. So the point is that you have to make sure that you nurture your kid much more than we were nurtured when we were kids, because that way you protect them from all the shtuyot of the world. If you tell them that the shtuyot are allowed, that nonsense is allowed, then that's where they're going to go to. Yeah. B'ezrat Hashem, if we get more people, we get a lot of people, I'll come. I always tell you guys, if you get a lot of people, I'll come. It's not necessarily a problem of coming. I'm already doing this all the time. It's hard for me to come. It's a lot of time. It's a big investment. But if we can get people, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll come. It's not an issue of me coming. I would love to come. It's just really a matter of fitting with the schedule to get people to come, to fill the place up. Today was more than last time, Baruch Hashem, but it was still supposed to be more. So we have to keep trying to get a lot of people. If we get a lot of people to come, I'll come. But the Keilah has to invest in it. Baruch Hashem, I don't charge, not because I don't need money. I don't charge because I don't want money to get in the way of Torah. So what I expect, though, is for the Keilah to invest the money advertising the shiur, making sure that the community knows that the shiur exists. Whatever money you would pay a speaker. So a speaker comes, you pay him, $5,000, $10,000. Instead of paying me $5,000, take $5,000, put it in all the newspapers. So the next time I come, the whole place is packed and there's 500 people here. Then it's worth it for me to come every week if there's 500 people. So I'm not taking the money, but at least the money is actually being used for kiruv. And B'ezrat Hashem, money will come some other way. So that's the idea. Anything else? Yes, this is for all of you guys. A present from B'ezrat Hashem. It's a Asher Yatzah. Put it on your walls. The CD, the posters.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you have a jewelry store.
Ken.
And you buy jewelry back from the customer.
Ken.
You polish it and you put it back in the window.
Ken.
And you don't tell the customer if it's new or if it's polished. Is that allowed or not?
Well, jewelry is different than the computer, because jewelry, unless it's a brand name. So, for example, if you buy a Rolex is a brand name that comes in a box whether it's new or not changes the price. Whether a Rolex is new or not changes the price, because it's a Rolex and it comes in a box. But if it's just a piece of gold, whether the piece of gold was found last week from the mine, this week, or 5,000 years ago is not really relevant. The gold doesn't change. There's no brand relevant to it. So it all depends on whether it's just a piece of gold or it's a piece of gold with a brand attached to it. That where the actual newness of it affects the price. A piece of gold with a piece of jewelry with some diamonds on it or something like that, whether it's new or not is irrelevant. But a piece of jewelry that has a brand name, the newness does affect it. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have a bigger shiur next time. Baruch Adonai leolam, amen ve'amen. Tezku lemitzvot.